Salam students, let's begin with the today's session of Class 8 Geography. We are doing the revision of chapter number 2. The chapter's name is Land, Soil, Water, Natural Vegetation and Wildlife Resources. Now let's go through the content of our chapter. We are dealing with the main four topics here: land, soil, water, natural vegetation and wildlife. Now under the main topic land, we are going to learn about the land use, conservation of land resource. Now land, let's begin with the first topic, that is land. Land is among the most important natural resource, right? See, it covers only about 30% of the total area of the earth's surface, and all parts of this small percentage are not habitable. It means 90% of the world population occupies only 30% of the land area. The remaining 70% of the land is either sparsely populated or uninhabited. Uninhabited means the inhabitants don't live there. So the uneven distribution of population in different parts of the world is mainly due to the varied characteristics of land and climate. Now, areas with rugged topography like steep slopes of mountains, low-lying areas near water, deserts, thick forested areas these areas are sparsely populated. Whereas if we'll talk about the plains and river valleys of a suitable land for agriculture, hence these are the densely populated areas of the world. So children, I think you understood the plains and river valleys are the areas that offer, because agriculture is comfortable there, so you can understand to have that occupation, the inhabitants will be more there. That is the reason these areas are the densely populated areas of the world. Now let's go to the next topic, that is land use. Now land is used for different purposes, right? We all know that thing. It is used for agriculture, forestry, mining, building houses, roads and setting up of industries, right? So this is commonly termed as land use. Land, from the word itself, land use, it means the land is used for many purposes. Now, the use of the land is determined by physical factors such as the topography, soil, climate, minerals and availability of water. Human factors such as population and technology are also important determinants of land use pattern. Now, see, land can be classified on the basis of ownership as private land and community land. Now, from the word private itself, you can understand it is owned by individuals, right? Whereas community land is owned by the community, that is for the common use. Community itself means a common use, okay, like collection of fodder, fruits, nuts or medicinal herbs. These community lands are also called as the common property resources. I'll repeat children, it is the land that can be classified as private land and community land, okay. Private means it is ownership is by the individuals themselves, okay. Whereas community land it is owned by the community for common use. So these community lands are also called as common property resources. Now land degradation, landslides, soil erosion, desertification, these are the major threats to the environment because of the expansion of agriculture and constructional activities. Now, see, when we know there is a threat to the environment, right, then we need to adopt the measures to conserve that land resource, right? So growing population and their ever-growing demands has led to the large-scale destruction of forest cover, that is, and arable land has created a fear of losing this natural resource. So what should be done? Therefore, the present rate of degradation of land must be checked. So these are the methods used to conserve land. Afforestation should be done, land reclamation should be done, then the regulated use of chemical pesticides and fertilizers, and even the checks on the overgrazing should be done. Children, here I have shared with you the images that are related to the land conservation. All that the afforestation, land reclamation, regulated use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, and even the checks on overgrazing. Now, next topic we are going to see here is the landslides. Now, landslides, what is that? They are simply defined as the mass movement of rock, debris or earth down a slope. Children, you all have heard about the landslide. See, every day in the news channels also you all get to hear about the landslides, right? What is that? It is the mass movement of the rock, debris or earth down a slope. Now, what happens in they often take place in conjunction with earthquakes, floods, and volcanoes. Due to the natural calamities, actually, this landslides happens. So, a prolonged spell of rainfall can also cause heavy landslide that can block the flow of river for the quite some time. Then, the formation of river blocks can cause havoc to the settlements downstream on its bursting. So in the hilly terrain, landslides have been a major and widely spread natural disaster that often strike life and property and occupy a position of major concern. Children, here I have shared with you the images of the landslides to make you understand it more clearly. See, looking at the images, you can understand how it blocks the road and even it affects the life and property also. Now the next topic is mitigation mechanism. Now advancement in scientific techniques has empowered us to understand what factors caused landslides and how to manage them. So some broad mitigation techniques of landslides are as follow. Mitigation techniques mechanism actually helps in controlling that landslides. What are the causes for that? So it helps in understanding that. The first is the hazard mapping locate areas prone to landslides. Hence, such areas can be avoided for building settlements. Then the second is the construction of retention wall to stop land from slipping. Then the next is increase in the vegetation cover is an effective way to arrest landslide. Then the next is the surface drainage control works are implemented to control the movement of landslide along with the rainwater and the spring flows. Children, I have shared here with you the images of the retention wall to make you understand like how the construction of retention wall to stop land from slipping. Now the next topic that we are going to begin is soil. Now in the soil topic, we are going to learn about the soil, factors of soil formation, then the degradation of soil and the conservation measures. Now a thin layer of grainy substance. What is soil? The thin layer of grainy substance covering the surface of the earth that is called as soil. It is closely linked to land. Landforms determine the type of soil. And what is soil made up of? You can get the question like this. Soil is made up of organic matter, minerals and weathered rocks found on the earth. Now this happens through the process of weathering. Now the right mix of minerals and organic matter together, it makes the soil fertile. Now what is weathering? The breaking up and decay of exposed rocks by temperature, frost action, plants, animals and human activity. So the breaking up of rocks is the weathering, process of weathering. Now children, here you can see the diagram has been given to you of soil profile. It shows you the different layers. See from the below it's a parent rock first, then the weathered rock material, then the subsoil with sand, silt and clay, and at the top you can say topsoil with humus and vegetation. I have asked you to draw this diagram in your assignments also, right? So all the 4 layers should be visible properly while drawing the diagram of the soil profile, and you need to label it properly also. Now the next is the factors of soil formation. The major factors of soil formation are the nature of the parent rock and climatic factors. Even the other factors are the topography, role of organic material, and time taken for the composition of soil formation. All these differ from place to place. Now let's understand the factors of soil formation, factors affecting soil formation. Let's start from the parent rock first. Parent rock, it determines the color, texture, chemical properties, mineral content, and permeability. Then the next is the relief, that is also called as topography. That is altitude and slope determine the accumulation of soil there. Then the next is flora, fauna, and microorganism that affects the rate of humus formation. Then the time that determines the thickness of soil profile. And then the last is climate, that is temperature, rainfall influence the rate of weathering and humus. So these all are the factors that affects the soil formation. Now the next topic is degradation of soil. See, soil erosion and depletion, these are the two major threats to soil as a resource. So both human and natural factors can lead to the degradation of soils. Now factors which lead to the degradation of soil are deforestation, overgrazing, overuse of chemical fertilizers or pesticides, and even rain wash, landslides, floods. I'll repeat, children, these are the important factors for you to remember which lead to soil degradation, that is deforestation, overgrazing, overuse of chemical fertilizers or pesticides, rain wash, landslides, and floods. Now, when we know the degradation is there, definitely we need the measures to conserve it, right? Now, let's go through the methods. Some methods of soil conservation that are given below here: the mulching, contour barriers, rock dams, terrace farming, intercropping, contour plowing, shelter belts. Let us understand the meaning of each and every in detail here now. Now mulching. What is that? Children, if you remember, those who have gone through the presentations that I gave you in the beginning of this chapter, that is not in the revision, I'm talking about the main slides that I showed you, main presentation. In that, I gave you the image of each and every method of conservation there. But here in this, I have just explained you the meaning of this. Mulching. The bare ground between plants is covered with a layer of organic matter like straw. It helps to retain soil moisture. Then the next is the contour barriers, that is stones, grass, soil. These are used to build barriers. See, from the word barriers itself, to stop that contour from flowing. Along the contours, these barriers are to be built to stop that flow. So trenches are made in front of the barriers to collect water there. Then the next is the rock dams. Rocks are piled up to slow down the flow of water. This prevents gullies and further the soil loss. Then the next method of soil conservation is terrace farming. These are made on the steep slopes so that the flat surfaces are available to grow crops. They can reduce surface runoff and soil erosion. Then the next topic is intercropping. See, different crops are grown in alternate rows and are sown at different times to protect the soil from rain wash. Then the contour plowing. It means the plowing is to be done parallel to the contours of a hill slope to form a natural barrier for water, so that the water should not flow down the slope. Then the next is the shelter belts. In the coastal and dry regions, rows of trees are planted to check the wind movement to protect soil cover. So here we have completed with the different methods of soil conservation. Now Children, in today's session, let's have the quick recap what we have done. We have learnt about the land and soil. In land, we saw about the land use. In that, we learnt about the common property resources, correct? Then we saw about the conservation methods for the land resource, right? Then we saw the landslides and mitigation mechanism. Then in soil, we learnt about the factors of soil formation. As well as we learnt about the degradation of soil, then the conservation methods that need to be adopted for soil conservation. Okay, this is what we have done in the today's session. See you in the next session with the remaining two topics. Till then, children, take care.